59, 58, 50, okay, obviously it was a joke. Thank you for the sub. YouTube is all powered up. Let's get back to the video, shall we? Well, it would certainly be cool to be able to figure out the next monster that we're going up against in chapter 3. Considering they all seem to die by the end of the chapter anyway, the more intriguing part is the underlying lore about Playtime Co. and the experiments that they've been running. We got a lot of hints throughout chapter 2 that the company was trying to revive dead rats using gel made from poppy flowers, and that now they were looking for quote-unquote larger subjects, aka children. We also saw paperwork where members of the staff were rating children's physical abilities in order to best pair them with the appropriate toy. Enter the setting for this newest chapter, Playcare. As the teaser says,
I announce Playcare, our very own on-site orphanage.
Having an on-site orphanage would give them plenty of larger subjects to dip into poppy gel. Kids forgotten by a system. Kids that are untraceable. But then what? What did they do here that led them to becoming the horrifying monsters that we've now come to expect from the franchise? Well, I suspect the answer to that question lies with this teaser. But not in the teaser, rather the thumbnail. You see, the thumbnail obviously puts the gas mask front and center as you'd expect, but there's a detail here that isn't present in the actual video. Surrounding everything is this red mist. It looks cool, and it definitely works nicely with the gas mask theme, but as someone who spends way too much time in thumbnail design meetings, I can tell you that this detail is more than just a "it looks cool" moment. This detail is intentional. It reveals way more than anything in the teaser itself. It reveals the usage of poppy gas. I mean, poppies are red flowers after all, so it just seems to make sense.
I do think that the poppy gas, I think that's probably where they're headed with this, right? Is making the poppy into a gas that then is converting the kids.
Immediately after I filmed this over on GT Live, I jumped on the computer and started looking into the idea of poppy gas. And you know what I found? Nothing. Zilch. Nada. Turns out nobody is interested in turning an odorless flower into a gas. But then I remembered this moment from the opening seconds of the game.
Her hair is sturdy and won't come out when you brush it, and smells just like a poppy flower.
Her hair smells like poppy flower, but poppies aren't supposed to have a smell, right? Well, they don't unless you're talking about a specific type of poppy, opium poppies. This is actually something that I casually tossed out there in our first ever theory on Poppy Playtime. Side note, I looked into, and it turns out that poppies don't really have that much of a smell, unless of course you're talking about opium poppies, in which case you're opening up a whole lot of messed up there. You see, normal poppies don't have a smell and don't have much of a narcotic effect because they have low levels of alkaloids, basically just a naturally occurring compound in the plant. Opium poppies, though, have higher alkaloid levels, resulting in a stronger smell and more physiological effects on humans. What do? Well, look no further than the Wizard of Oz.
Poppies will put them to sleep.
I can't run anymore. I'm so sleepy.
You can't rest now, we're nearly there.
Opium has been used throughout history as a painkiller and sleep inducer thanks to some of the chemicals found within it, namely morphine and codeine, drugs that you might be familiar with because they're still used today as painkillers. Now, obviously, there are more and more regulations on using opiates like these for medical purposes. In fact, my partner Steph, in her former life before YouTube, worked on helping educate doctors about the medical uses and dangers of opiates and opioids. However, that sort of knowledge didn't exist in the early 1900s, and this stuff was totally unregulated. Opium would commonly be mixed with sugar and water to make syrups, balms, and soups, which would then be given to children that couldn't sleep. These balms could then be applied to women's chests to help babies wean faster, or they would be put on babies' gums to soothe them while they were teething. In fact, they were marketed as soothers and could be purchased in pretty much any grocery store at the time. You know, it was just common practice for perfectly normal kids to be given highly addictive drugs, at least until regulations finally came down in 1912. But as disturbing as that may be, it actually connects directly back to Poppy Playtime. Playtime Co. using opium poppies and poppy's hair follows this trend of subduing kids who are in pain or just a bit restless using a drug. It also means that they were probably able to skirt around regulations. Who would suspect a toy company putting opium in a doll's hair? And considering they weren't a medical center, they probably were even less likely to fall into suspicion. But how does all of this relate back to our creepy gas mask and the red fumes surrounding the toys? A gas mask, to me, implies that the gas is covering a large area, and that the gas is more concentrated. In my research, I found this, carfentanil, a narcotic gas that's in the same category as opiates and opioids, which is 10,000 times stronger than morphine, which itself is 100 times stronger than opium. And carfentanil has been weaponized as a gas before. In Russia back in 2002, a group of rebels took a theater of 800 people hostage. Since I already seem to be doing movie references in today's episode, it's basically like this opening scene from Tenet. After 3 long days, the Russian authorities were suddenly faced with a difficult choice of how to possibly end the standoff. They decided to use a carfentanil-based gas to knock out the rebels, thereby allowing the troops to get into the building safely. Except there was one problem with the plan. Carfentanil is too strong. Again, stuff is 10,000 times stronger than morphine. Well, sure, the carfentanil did indeed knock out the insurgents so the authorities could get in. It also killed 130 of the hostages who are also in the building breathing the stuff in. The gas fills your lungs, replacing the oxygen that you should be breathing in, meaning that no oxygen is getting into your bloodstream, but instead this deadly chemical, eventually causing your body to shut down. Which then brings us all the way back around to Playtime Co. and their experiments with poppy flowers and rats. The experiment that we read about in Chapter 2 shows that Elliot and his team killed a rat and submerged it into a poppy flower gel mixture before trying to revive it. The process didn't work, which they figured was because of the size of the test subject. But what if it was more than that? What if part of the problem was that it was only coated in a poppy gel mixture? I mean, I could go swimming for hours, but I can't then claim that I'm suddenly hydrated. The water's only effective once it's inside of my body. I'm wondering if that's actually what we're seeing here. Poppy gel didn't work, but what if you breathed in poppy gas? Suddenly, you'd have it in your system immediately as the lungs transfer the gas into the bloodstream. If Playtime Co. is trying to activate the elements of the poppy, it being in the body, in the blood that's keeping people alive, well, it feels like that's gonna get you more consistent results when trying to revive someone. Making it a gas would also make the experimentation process easier. Could you imagine having to submerge one child into a gel mixture and then having to fish him out before putting the next one in? Putting a child in a room filled with gas, however, is a way easier way to do it and far less messy. And yes, at this point, I think I need to make the obvious disclaimer here. This is dark. Very dark. I think we can all very easily see the parallels to World War II gas chambers. But the reason that I'm talking about these very disturbing things and these very tragic events is because it seems like this is where the game's headed to with the upcoming third chapter. This is a toy factory after all. Mass production is their name of the game. Around the factory, we see dozens of broken and bloody cat bees, bronze, boogie bots, and candy cats. These weren't special one-offs like Mommy Longlegs or a giant Huggy. These were everyday toys that were being sold out to the masses. So if there are lots of bloody candy cats laying around the factory, and we've seen children assigned to that specific toy, then it stands to reason that you need a lot of kids ready to be converted. The gas allows you to get a big group of children together in one room, drug them all at once, and then walk in with your colorful gas mask and remove them all ready for mass production. However, I don't think they're just shoving kids into a room to be converted. They're using the entire play care facility, and I believe that to be the case because of the main focus of the teaser, the mask. This gas mask is not just the same color as brawn, it's the same color as real-life gas masks that were created during World War II. While most masks were neutral colors like black, brown, gray, or green, those colors made the gas masks look unappealing and scary, especially to children. You can imagine why.
Are you my mommy?
In walked Walt Disney. Yep, that Walt Disney, believe it or not. He decided to help the issue out by manufacturing the Mickey Mouse mask, which had the face of the iconic mouse to make it more appealing to kids. In the UK, they also have the Mickey Mouse mask, but it didn't look like anything coming out of the old House of Mouse. Instead, these masks were bright red, and that was it, just red. Sometimes they had a flappy nose to make them seem more fun, but overall, it was just about making the colors bright so they were less scary. And remind me again what color the mask in the teaser is? These masks are bright and colorful because they're being worn around children, all in an effort to make them and the scientists that wear them less scary, which of course they have to do so they don't get high off the fumes that are being pumped into play care. If these gas masks were only necessary while kids were being shoved into a testing room to be transferred into a toy, then they could have just had them as a standard black color. No kids would be conscious enough to see them being worn. It makes a lot more sense that they're this color though, because the children are seeing them being worn regularly, which you'd have to do if the entire play care facility was slowly being gassed. And then all we're left with is a bunch of screaming children. Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime promises to lean heavy into the twisted backstory of the factory. I'm just not sure any of us realized how dark they were willing to go with this story. Thanks to this new teaser, I think we have an idea. Now the question is, are we gonna be brave enough to keep going? But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Here's a quick reminder that new Theoryware merch is available right now. While we might not have ourselves Game Theory branded gas masks yet, we do have ourselves Switch cases, pencil cases, and suitcases. One of those is a lie. I'll let you guess which one. And while Playtime Co. seems to be going all in on red and yellow, Game Theory's latest tech tee is green and black and blue all over. Dear viewer, I understand. You cannot feel this shirt for yourself. Feel-o-vision is not yet a thing that's been built into the product of YouTube. They had to prioritize YouTube Shorts shorts first, but if you could just feel this thing, you too would want to wear it every day, like apparently I have, every single day I've been filming lately. And yes, that one right there is me with one sock on. No, I will not be taking any further questions. Want something warmer as we quickly approach the fall? Check out the Space Racer quilted jacket. This thing is like wearing a blanket, but it's fashionable and cozier. And while you're at it, why not complete the look with a brand new backpack? I mean, you can see what the chalk mark says above my head. Much wow. Need I say more? Seriously, this thing has a ton of room and so many compartments for your research papers, your toys, the memories of what you did to all those kids a decade ago. So, if you want to get your hands on any of these items before they disappear faster than an employee in an indie horror game, head on over to theoryware.com. That's theoryware.com, or just click the link in the top line of the description. And as always, remember friends, it's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.